Right, I'm here for another episode of Reflections. This one is going to be with Carlos, formerly known, obviously, as Ocelote. So I actually technically did a Reflections with him years and years ago. You can go back. That was in 2015. I will just say, as a point of interest, because obviously one of the problems with my sort of content, Carlos, is I am trying to make stuff that in theory someone could go back in 20 years and watch, and it'll still be interesting. I'm not trying to make the one like, say, Doublelift, like, how did the game go? Do you like the new skin? Like, there's a guys already that have done that. But the problem is, the joke is, people don't go back and watch videos from 2015. So sometimes I have to repeat some of the things because I know the modern fans don't know it. So I will just say, and I'm going to say this at the beginning of the video because I'm not going to go into it. You know, a certain lie that people say about you and a very famous content creator called LS, they tell a lie about you on Reddit and things that you did. Spoiler, we already discussed that. It's in an interview back in 2015. We go over the whole thing. It's a total misunderstanding. It wasn't at all what people present it as. So, okay, starting off with this. This is the first topic I want to ask about here, Carlos. And it goes like this. I have really good memory, so I know certain details, and I'm going to ask you about them. So here's the question. People might know, something I've always mentioned whenever I've interviewed you over the years, is I actually knew you because I worked for SK Gaming before you were in League of Legends. You were playing with SK Gaming in World of Warcraft. That's right, 3v3 arena, which people don't know was a very, very skilled game with a massive knowledge base. It wasn't some like noob shit. Like to me, League of Legends is noob stuff for me. I'm from Quake and StarCraft and stuff like. I don't care about like the joke is League of Legends is like one character out of Warcraft 3 without all the fucking minions and without all the macro and any of that shit. No, so to me, I always thought it was deep. But World of Warcraft, people don't know, is a really skilled game. So what I want to ask is this. When you were playing that game and you were a top player, would there ever have been a world, like if people don't know that game still exists now, it's still played now. Could you ever have just only stayed in World of Warcraft? Did you have like a passion for it? Could you have been playing now potentially?
Well, good afternoon, Thorin.
That's how I do it, mate. That's how I fucking do it. I leave it to other people to be like, hello, sir, and how are you? And the family, like, that ain't me, mate. I'm just fucking straight in. Like, in 2012, what about that? What about, why did you not hit the Nexus, fuck? So there you go. So I am, mate. So I am. There'll never be another one like me. So let's go.
Perfect. Yeah, that's true. And I respected that always from you. Always. I mean, in other things, of course, but you know that. Actually, anybody that asks me, what is the best game ever made? Even to this day, I had a conversation a few days ago with a businessman that has nothing to do with video games, but he used to play video games.
Okay.
And we both agreed again, and I would say it over and over, that World of Warcraft is the best game ever created. And I doubt that there will be another game like World. And for this, and I will get to the answer to your question in a second, but I will explain to you why I think why I think this way is because in a games as a service model, every few weeks there's a new update, and in the case of World of Warcraft, there's actual content update constantly. It's not like League of Legends that things get replaced for other things, is that things get added into the game, right? And so World of Warcraft has so much content, some of it from 13 years ago or plus, 15 years ago, whatever, some of it more recent, but it has such a disgustingly high amount of volume of content that you can do in the game that you can literally make World of Warcraft your life and still you wouldn't complete it. And that is a game that can be completed, actually, unlike most multiplayer games. But this one can be completed, but nobody completes it, even those that spend their lifetimes on it. So that just goes to show that, I mean, that is as close as a virtual reality realm as we can think of. There, all these sandbox and all these blockchain, metaverse and stuff like that. Nothing is ready. Nothing is good enough to be called a virtual reality where people will spend the majority of their lifetime in. World of Warcraft can, because again, the amount of content is so ludicrous. And if you right now imagine you have $400 million at your disposal, and you say, okay, I'm going to develop for the next 4 years a AAA game, just like World of Warcraft. You would still not have as much content as World of Warcraft has. You wouldn't even have 1/5 or 10th of the content that World of Warcraft has. And that makes World of Warcraft just so special and so infinite in the amount of value that it gives you. That is I think is just the most addictive. I mean, it's literally a secondary life where the same things that apply to real life, which is people looking up to you, people respecting you, idolizing you
Yeah.
for your gear in this case, or for your rank in this case, apply similarly. And now to answer your question, there's a reason why I left World of Warcraft, and I am somebody that is idealistic on one end, but also realistic on the other, and I try to match those two. I think that's what makes me successful. Is that even if my dream would be to take care of cows on farmland where nobody is, I would never do it because it's not an ambitious goal. So the same applies to playing World of Warcraft. I loved World of Warcraft, but I knew that if my ambition would be to reach the highest highs in the world of video games, I had to change for multiple reasons.
Right. One thing that obviously people might not know is the other thing is Dota, the game, existed. I remember people talking about this game in like 2005 or something, mate. But at the time, famously, in esports, and the esports were games like Counter-Strike, Quake, Warcraft 3, Dota at the time, the joke was, it really was like the cool down game that people played after they finished playing Counter-Strike for 5 hours. You just go with a bunch of your casual friends and you play it. And the joke of it was, you didn't even have to be good. Like, they don't have to know how it works. You just tell them, pick this hero, just do this, whatever. Like, I'll show you how it works, you know. And so at the time, loads of us played Dota, but they played it like for fun on the side. Like, while you were doing World of Warcraft, had you already played Dota All-Stars? Had you played it on the side a little bit? Did you know about that like sort of genre that was growing?
Yeah, I played Dota. I played before World of Warcraft. I played Warcraft mods and stuff like that. I played a lot of them actually, even tower defense TD games and stuff like that.
Classic.
I played Day of Defeat, that as well, Counter-Strike, that.
Yeah. Pretty sure everyone in Spain played Counter-Strike at some point if you were of a certain age, right?
It's true.
Yes.
It's like football, you're born with a football, and on the other hand, a mouse and a keyboard. Counter-Strike.
Was there ever a world, though, that it might not have been League of Legends? Might it have ever been Dota or Counter-Strike or something you would have tried going pro in?
It could have easily been in. I think a lot of things in life is timing, and you attract the good timings or the bad timings depending how your brain operates. That's what I believe in, and I've happened to attract a lot of good timings in my life.
Yes. Right. Let's talk about League of Legends then. So here's how I want to do it. You will remember this story. I mean, I think I even relayed part of it on that like Crackdown episode we did, that hilarious one where you like told Dom that you'd ask yourself the questions or whatever. That was pretty good. I will say, by the way, that was before you got like a bit humbled by some of the shit in life. So that was when you were at your complete peak because you were just balling out of control. You've won MSI. You've just got records for free. You're fucking like swagging on the game because you've sold Perkz for like $7 million or whatever. So that was when you were at your peak. In many ways, that was like the ultimate Carlos like manifestation. So I'll rewind it though. Here's the question, right? You remember at MLG Columbus, that first $1 million major, the one that won by Luminosity. And you remember we were at this after party and Froggen was there because at the time, look, he won't mind me saying this. At the time, he had that like streamer girlfriend and he was also sort of at the most Froggen moment of his whole career as well. He was wilding on some other shit. So he came along to this Counter-Strike major because I knew him and his girlfriend. And when you met up and you were like, oh shit, you're here as well. Because obviously like, normally it's not your League of Legends people and you're in the business side already. I remember everyone was having a drink and you were telling him like a hilarious story, which was that when he first came along in League of Legends, like obviously back then all the mid laners were like playing hyphy for 1v1 kills. You remember, like it was like you, Reggie, everyone was just going balls deep at like level 3 in the fucking lane. And then you said the thing about Froggen was everyone was like, what the fuck is he doing? He's just getting all the minions. And like, yeah, actually was blowing it. So what I want to do is I want to just ask about your rivals in this era. So what was Froggen like to you? Who was this guy when you first met him?
Yeah, Froggen was so immensely good at the game, but more patient than good even. He was just so patient. And I could not compute how can someone be so patient, especially at that time. Until then, you were only exposed to aggression, and there was players like Reginald, Alexic, Shushay the most out of, which was just almost mindless aggression. The moment you could go aggressive, you would go in for the kill, sometimes even without your jungler. And some others, like there was this kid, I can't remember the name, but he used to play TF in America. And people like xPeke, people like, who was this other guy? There was somebody else in Europe that played a little bit more creative. And sometimes they would roam where they shouldn't roam, you know, and it somehow played out, and you get a bit brain sometimes, but it was like a one-trick pony type of gameplay, you know. After you play against people like them, especially on scrims a few times, you understand, okay, they're missing from the lane, they could be waiting for me in the brush, I should be careful. Before it was like, okay, they're missing, they should be going bot lane, but in reality they were not, and then you die, you know, by face checking, which is the most stupid play. I mean, if you think about it right now, it's so stupid. Yeah, but that was called creativity back then. Yeah, so there were a few players that played a bit more creative, but still aggressive, you know. And there was then Froggen appeared, and I would be honest, I like Froggen. I like I like the straightforwardness of the guy, and he's grown on me over the years more and more. But he changed the way to play the game, and I hate that. I mean, somebody would have done this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But the fact that it was him just pissed me off.
Okay.
Because he was so patient, you know, and he was just farming with fucking Karthus or Orianna. Just Karthus Orianna. That's it. This is fucking game. Karthus Orianna. Just fucking with the Karthus doing like this, Q. You're gonna go aggressive? No, he goes back, W, Q, pokes you a bit, and then again, Q minion, and then you just wanna kill yourself. Wanna take a rope and end it all. Because really, it was so fucking annoying. And very, very soon after seeing this gameplay, I started deploying it in solo queue. And I had like 400 minions in like 28 minutes or something ridiculous. And I would just win the game by existing. You know, I would just exist.
Sure.
I would hit one Q somewhere, and then somebody would be down to half HP, and then halas, you can finish the game. And I realized very quickly that the game would go into this direction, and that actually gave me a deep level of dissatisfaction about the game. Really, okay. Like when you're in a roller coaster and you're going up, and eventually you're like, this is gonna go down at some point.
Yeah.
And I know this is gonna go down. I'm right here, and I hate what's gonna come now. Well, that's pretty much exactly. That's pretty much what it was like to be in that age, not being someone that likes to play aggressive.
I also did want to ask about the other two big names of the era. So tell me about their styles in a similar fashion. Who was xPeke and who was alexich?
In their styles,
yeah,
yeah. So alexich was a bit like me, very aggressive, but I think Diamond Perkz was the best jungler in the world for probably 2 years. And it was so obvious that he was the best jungler in the world that you wouldn't even comprehend the pressure he was applying. Bro, everybody, 99.999% of the human population that played League of Legends would farm, make some gank at level 3 maybe, or level 2 maybe get a little creative, you know, but not much, you know. Then Diamond Perkz would pick Shyvana jungle, and he would be like, okay, so I'm gonna face you in your jungle. Either you're there and you die, or you're not, and I get your camps. And then he started developing that strategy in a way where he would just start tracking where the other jungler is, and he would start thinking about the one-on-one. Nobody in the jungle by that time thought about the one-on-one in the jungle. Right now it's obvious, right? But back then, like, people don't understand. This is like the eternal debate of Michael Jordan versus blah, you know? It's like the meta in every sport or every competition changes because there are trailblazers that challenge their probability of victory as exchange for doing something new that nobody else is doing. In other words, anybody that watching this, okay, should think about the following. Normally, you would scrim, and you would play the game like you know how to play it, and you know what works. But to challenge the status quo and say, I believe there is a better way to play than the way every professional player on Mother Earth is playing, and I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm gonna do it every fucking scrim, and I'm gonna get so good at it that they will copy my way. That is not an easy thing to do. Even if it's an obvious thing for you right now, that's how the brain works. Now for you it's obvious because you've seen it work 1,000 times. But when it's not been done before, it's so complicated to even remotely come up with the idea, let alone push for it the first one. And Diamond Perkz was one of those. So when you play against Diamond Perkz, when your junglers are not able to or understand what he's doing, you don't even comprehend how impossible it is to play the game. Okay, I can't go aggressive because Diamond Perkz could be here. And the fact that he could be there, nearby your jungle, is already fucked. Because that already changes the way you play the game. So Alexic, I think, at times he was better than me, to be fair. And not always, but I think at times he was better than me. But when he wasn't, the duo, the jungle mid duo he had, made him better than me, no doubt. And that has been the case for many times for mid laners across the years, you know. But yeah, Diamond was a fucking animal. Now, Peke, I think Peke is a very special player, you know. I think Peke is one of the most creative players that played the game, relative to the age in which they played in, you know. I think that Peke, just like Diamond Perkz did what he did in the jungle, I think Peke did that with split pushing, you know, and things like this. Like, he was one of the first ones to come up with split pushing, and you know, he would pick Z, and then he would, or you know, he would pick something that maybe is not supposed to demolish in lane if the opponent plays well, and then you're like, okay, I'm Orianna, he's Z maybe, and I'm good because I have 10 more CS than him, and I have half a level above. But then everything goes down the drain when they just go 2v1 mid with the bot lane, and he goes bot lane with Zed, you know, and there's the champions played at the moment made Zed very strong in the side. And then, oh shit, okay, this is changing now, because if I go bot, the lane is too long for Orianna to survive. If in case the jungler comes, even Zed can kill you in a long lane. So it's complicated. Then you start thinking about the length of the lanes as a mid laner, which was something very new. Again, now it's obvious, but back then it wasn't. And Peke came up with a lot of creative things like this, you know. And it was very fun to play against Peke because I would learn a lot of new things, how to play the game. I think mechanically, he was okay, you know, nothing extraordinary, but he was very creative, you know. Also, it fits his real life character, you know. His real life character is like, he doesn't care much about anything in life, really. It's like a bit of like good chaos. You know, he has a good heart, but he's chaotic, you know, chaotic good, you know. And that's what he is in game as well. So yeah, very, very nice to play against him. Very fun. I think Shushay, you always love to play against Shushay because he was just brain dead aggression. And I was also brain dead aggression, but I had a bit of brain. Okay, he had no brain, only mechanics. And he was not even, okay, it's mechanics, but it's the same combos he would do over and over. He wouldn't change it. He would just do one combo with Gragas or something, and he would just fuck your shit up. And you're like, motherfucker, I knew he would do this, and I still died, you know? And so stuff like this. But yeah, it was fun times, man. It was fun times. Then it became much more team play based and way less individualistic as a result of how the game evolves, you know?
Right, since obviously you are both Spanish mid laners, and at the time, SK Fnatic, there's a reason it was called El Clasico. It was like the classic European matchup that everyone wanted. So in many ways, like, you were paired in media in the same annoying way that like Ronaldo and Messi are. And the reason I say annoying is obviously they should be paired, but every interview the question was like, what do you think about that guy? Is he better than him? And it's like all that. So what I want to ask is this, it's the obvious comparison. When you were players, look, he has a way better resume of wins than you. People would say he was better than you. He obviously beat you many, many times. But the joke is, you then both became org owners, and you've sort of won that one. Do you ever think of it that way? Do you care about that? The idea that, like, I mean, it's not even really close, is it? Like, Origin isn't even round anymore. Basically, it's Astralis now. He sold it. Meanwhile, G2 like was at once the top of the world. Do you think of your careers as having some parallels, or were you a rival?
So, a part of me, yes, like very small part of me just wants to win at everything. That's just the competitor in me, the man in me. But this is the same as if, let's imagine you grow up, you're part of, you're two children part of the same tribe, and you grow up and you do wrestling, for example, while growing up. And this guy is a little better than you. He beats you at wrestling. But then I grow up to be Alexander the Great, and he grows up to work for me. Okay. 2 steps below. Who feels good? Who feels bad? Sure. It does not matter. It's just that anybody's abilities and skill sets, you know, that are deployed differently throughout life. You know, his creativity and his chaotic energy, it makes it very hard for him to succeed in life at the level that I did, because I take showers thinking about how to make money and how to succeed and how to conquer the world. He probably takes showers thinking about I don't fucking know, black holes and being high. I don't know, but I'm making up shit in my head.
No, I know what you mean.
And
Yeah, if people don't know, he has a very light
thoughts,
spirit. He's the ultimate guy to have like a drink with. He's a really fun guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. xPeke is a very fun guy, nice-hearted dude, and So I think that the skill set of every human is what makes them special at different things. And yeah, my competitor's heart, and I have very good mechanics. Also, I've always been very good at sports. Okay. So very, very good. Any sport I can do. If I pick up something from zero, I'll pick it up very quickly. I have always thought that I could be a professional in anything. And that is both mindset as well as actual mechanical ability. Eye-hand coordination and ability to understand how to move my body and understand my body. I do that very well, But on the other hand, sometimes, for example, I lack patience, and that's also in life. I'm not a patient person, and when you play League of Legends, you have to be sometimes very patient. Like really, sometimes I would be like I would get, my brain would get a message. There's an opening, and there's 0% chance I wouldn't go for it. There was actually 0% chance I wouldn't go for it. It's like a trigger. It's like and for some things in life, that trigger is invaluable. For some other things in life, the trigger can hurt you, but that's okay. I'm happy with my career. I've been extraordinary at everything I've touched. Sometimes the best, sometimes like in World of Warcraft, anybody that has played World of Warcraft, and you can go into warcraftmovies.com and type Ocelote in there. The video I've made that I edited myself as well, by the way, you can see the comments. And these professional players all around the world saying, this is the best guy that has ever played this video game, ever. Okay. And you can see in the comment section, which is 100 pages of comments, full of comments like this. So I've been excellent in everything I have touched, and will likely continue to be, whether it's video games or any form of competition like business, because that's how I am. But whether I'm the best, number 10 or something, yeah, it's okay, bro. League of Legends was played by so many millions of people, and it's normal that there's people that are better than you.
Right. One thing I want to ask about is something people won't know about you, because obviously they remember the end of Ocelote playing before it became Gamers 2 and G2, is people always were like, oh, he's overrated. But I noticed one thing about your career was, especially before the LCS era where you had to go, and even though it's on LAN, it's like people know what a regular season is like. Even like the greatest football team of all time, unless they're like Man City, doesn't really win every game. They all have like a random game they drop to some nobody team, because just keeping your focus like it's different. Whereas if you look in tournaments, there's a reason why the greatest teams win all the Champions Leagues and the World Cups and stuff. So I noticed a similar thing with your play, which was even if someone was better than you online in the ladder or whatever, or even if in like a regular season game they are better than you actually did have like the clutch factor. And obviously back then, a lot of players had played that many LANs. Like you were pretty good on LAN, right?
Yeah, I love it because it was special. You take a flight somewhere, you go to the hotel, you can meditate on the games coming. It's almost like you prepare for a specific single moment that's unique versus an ongoing season. I always said it. I remember making a lot of interviews back when the first regular season would exist, season 2. And I was very vocal against it, just from a very selfish point of view, which is I knew I would get bored. I know myself, and on top of this, people also fail to understand that all of these players we're talking about, Alexich, Chushe, xPeke, Regina, everybody, they never played competitively before. I've been playing 5 years before World of Warcraft competitively. That means that I have seen everything I could see. I played fucking BlizzCon. I was flown to Los Angeles. I was flown all across the world. I competed, not played. I trained for 14 hours straight in a game called World of Warcraft every single day. And a big reason why professional players' careers last not so many years is because it's taxing for your brain, And you play 14 hours a day, you train 14 hours a day, but eventually the lack of sun catches onto you, the bad diets catch onto you, the lack of physical exercise catches onto you, the lack of outside input from the world catches onto you, the lack of having time to read books and get outsiders' perspective that would challenge and improve you as a person catches onto you. And then eventually you become a zombie that just trains and plays video games and competes in them, which cuts your wings and the potential of growth. So I've been doing that in World of Warcraft, and then I moved into League of Legends. And I would not say I didn't grow. Of course I grew, but you know, it's been a lot of time before my career started in League of Legends that I was already mentally taxed, you know? And in a way, moving from World of Warcraft to League of Legends was a refresher into my career, into my life, because I don't think I would have played professionally much longer if I would have to play the same game, honestly. But that refresher has a time limit, you know? And eventually my brain, especially upon the news of the regular season coming, that really fucked my brain. Because I know my strengths, and I knew my strengths. And I know my strength is not to be consistent week by week. My strength is to prepare for the big moment. And my brain will be completely ready. Like that day I show up in the tournament game, nothing can happen that can take me away. I am fully focused on it. I don't, no girlfriends, no nothing. Nobody can talk to me. I prepare my brain for the moment. I cannot do that on a weekly basis for a regular season. And I knew it.
Along those lines, then, let me just parallel that with something later when you were obviously an owner, because people might know the G2 Super Team was like this. They weren't always the one winning every single regular season game, but they were sort of, I mean, I wonder how much of it came from you, how much of it came from coaches. They were the kind of team that peaked in the playoffs, right? Like every time Fnatic thought they were the best, they would just lose in the finals. It's like they were the best in all the scrims I was hearing. They're winning all the games, but G2 would just peak. Did you actually understand this concept of sort of like you don't want to burn people out? You got to let them sort of ease their way into the season.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why, with all due respect to everybody else, I was the best at my job, because I of course understand business. I of course understand, and I've learned many new things to make the business successful. But the reality of the matter is that I also knew how to deal with players, and I knew what to do to get the best out of players in the key moments. And I understood that losing against Fnatic on a regular season game, even though it would be catastrophic for social media and for the community, I could not care less if it means that we have a 3% higher chance of performing when it matters, which is playoffs or international tournament, but more so playoffs. Yeah. So I tell you already, I would sandbag mentally and in front of the players. I would sandbag parts of the season on purpose, and I've never seen anybody do that. I would take the full criticism. Like again, people like to shit on anything and anyone, but the reality of the matter is that if you look at every year of my time as the CEO and founder of G2, you will see that in every single moment of hardship, I took full accountability and responsibility for everything in full. When things were bad, and at times even I told the world, look, we gave them holidays, we gave them vacation. It's what it is, and then we took the biggest stick in our asses as a result of this. But look, how many players were burned on the cross because of that? None, because the CEO took the flag, rightfully so. Because I told everybody, okay, it's okay if we take vacation for this moment. It's okay if we shit the bed 2-3 weeks, because we need to be ready to peak at the right time.
One thing along these lines that I wanted to ask about, because this is like the end of the playing section, and then we'll go into some of the stuff about G2 in general, goes like this. So I actually saw you did an interview with Virgin Radio in the UK where you revealed very interesting detail people won't know. So back then, the iconic thing about Ocelote, you didn't even do this later, was you always had a scarf on, which sounds weird because someone's going to go, what? And it's like, no, but at the time you have to realize every single gaming jersey just looks the same with a different colour and different badge on. It's just like a shitty football jersey, isn't it? So that was iconic. If people don't know, like that was literally the thing everyone had to comment on. And so the thing you said in this interview that was interesting is though, you really did sort of view it as branding. Like you even would wear it even if it was really hot because you were like, it's my fucking brand. So Can you give me some angles on this? Like give me some thoughts. Because obviously you were one of the first people to brand yourself. It's actually one of the reasons I think so many people hated on you and preyed on your downfall, because you weren't just a player. You were actually going off this idea of like, I'm trying to build this bigger than life character, right?
Yeah, that's right. You need to understand, and I do it even to this day, by the way. I don't tell you what I do, but I do things that make people, like, piss people off and make them remember me. And the scarf was no different than that. Everybody needs to have something, that people remember them for, because there's so many people on planet Earth that are skilled at things that it's just impossible for everybody to keep track of everybody's existence, you know? So you need to have something special. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because you have to look deep within and see what is for you, right? Some people are the boring guys that never smile ever and are always serious, like Kimi Raikkonen, for example,
Sure.
right? I know people that are very close to Kimi Raikkonen. He's not like this.
Right.
He really is not like this. Okay, he's a good man, always, is making jokes, smiling. But when it's camera time, it's fucking serious. Nothing, you know what I mean. And some other people, like to wear scarves and multicolor, because they see the forums are talking about the scarves and calling the guy gay, and he knows that it's triggering. So the more he reads that, the more in the next tournament, even if it's fucking 28 degrees Celsius, he will wear the fucking scarf, Like if he plays in Abu Dhabi, he will wear the fucking scarf,
I mean, in the interview, you even said a very interesting thing, which is that you said that even if your teammate was like, it's too hot, take it off, you were like, this is actually my job. This is part of the work, wearing this scarf.
That's right. Yeah, I remember people in SK were telling me at times, Rob, take it off. It's too hot. It will crumble your play. And you can say I am selfish. Fair enough. But I see that as a part of. I saw that as part of my job. And those players that understand that part of their job also is outside of the game are those players that succeed the most. Look at Reckless. You can hate him. You can love him. It doesn't matter. I mean, we didn't have a very nice ending to our relationship. Because he's not the most forthright individual, but at the end of the day, he knows what he's doing. He's
iconic as fuck. Let's be real. Yeah, of course.
Look at him. Like, he's just iconic. It's iconic. Yeah. He knows his target audience is, which is the 16-year-old anime girls.
It's like the joke I made exactly on Twitter. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, the 16-year-old uwu, and
he knows his demographic exactly.
The picture, like.
Yes.
Like, and yes, that's Reckless, Johnny. But they give it to him because he understands how you gotta
killed
be.
It. Yeah.
And it's the only way to be larger than just a player. So, they can hate all they want, but this not only applies also to professional gamers, but it applies to anybody.
I mean, spoiler, we won't go into it because it's not about me, but there's a thing called Twitter that I've sort of used to do this for myself. You know who I was before I became an on-camera guy, Carlos. I was just a nerd. I was literally a nerd who looked like shit. I just had sports jerseys or massive hair. I was asking about and then in the next match, and then after that. But I realised eventually, mate, it doesn't matter how good these interviews are. No one's going to fucking watch them. But I tell you what, if I make this sort of like wrestling character, even the guy who hates me has to be writing all the comments. But have you seen the thing he said on Twitter? Like, I won't make it out myself, but you see, I agree. Everyone has to have this thing to make themselves stand out. Yes,
you're absolutely right. And you remember, actually, we had a talk one day in an event. I can't remember exactly the event, but I remember I told you that one thing I'll do what was it? Like the level of radiation that your name gave. So basically, I'm more radioactive than you, actually. So I outdid you. I became more radioactive.
Exactly.
There's a level of pride that comes with it,
Yeah, for sure. By the way, one thing along these lines that people won't know, but it's actually something we briefly touched on in the old interview, but I want to ask actually which teams it was or what it was. Basically, you told me there was a world where, so LCS began in season 3. You told me, because obviously season 2 was one of your best seasons, that's when SK was still popping, made it to Worlds. You told me you actually had, I know xPeke had the offers in TSM, you told me you actually had NA offers, that you could have gone to NA and played in that. And at the time, if people don't know, for streaming and stuff, NA was huge. And I can imagine, it would have been fun as fuck. If you'd have been there, like, that would have been a really interesting, like, dynamic, right? Do you ever wonder what would have been like to go do that?
Yeah. It was a short answer, yes. But I hated Alex Mueller, which was the CEO of SK back then, because he didn't let me go. But then I became CEO of my own company, and I understood why I would.
You're in a similar position yourself. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's what I mean, bro. Like, you see what I mean? Like,
right.
Every single thing I have done pertaining players in G2, I have gone through it myself. And I understood many times after how ridiculous it is for me to try to force Alex Miller to give me for free to TSM when I was the single most important portion of SK's success in and outside the game. You know, like all the sponsors needed me. So why would Alex Miller put in jeopardy a company of 20 people just for the purpose of pleasing this fucking guy that I'm paying money for anyway? You know? So it's like the level of entitlement was stratospheric from me. But at the same time, entitlement is maybe the wrong word, because entitlement implies that you know the difficulties of a company and you know all the dynamics, and you still want to be, and you still push to be sold for free. No players understand.
No, they're all naive. Exactly. Yeah.
They're all naive. You know, they're not bad people.
Yeah.
They're not entitled in reality. They're just incompetent. They are not. They don't know. Sorry, not incompetent. Ignorant.
Yes.
Okay, I meant it. Yes. They're ignorant. They don't know how a team operates. How a team really is a tough business. It's a really tough business. And if they let you go for free, bro, you're gonna fuck a lot of people over. Really, a lot of people over. And a lot of teams that have tried to be the fucking Che Guevara of esports are all dead.
Yep.
You can't be the Che Guevara of esports.
Yes.
The same way Real Madrid is not being a communist-run organization
Sure.
either.
Yes.
It's just how it fucking works, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, I got a lot of shit for that. I think most of my haters come from that angle. But that just comes with the territory. You know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you put it this way, people already saw with that whole walkout thing. It doesn't really matter what the business scenario is. They're just like, just let the players do whatever they want. And it's like, come on, bro.
I read about the walkout, bro, and I told myself, I'm so happy to be far away from this fucking industry right now.
Yes.
Because there is a 0% chance any of my employees, any of my current companies would walk out like this. 0% chance. I don't care. Bring me the fucking whatever union group, they can all suck my dick. There's 0% chance.
Okay.
That with the level of benefits combined with the level of responsibilities, the way they're currently matching, anybody can fucking complain. Let alone players, bro. That's insane. Really insane.
Thing is, I'll echo what you're saying, though. It's because they just don't understand the business of it. You know, because like you say, some of it's entitlement, but some of it is just ignorance, mate. Like, I'll tell you, I know these players, like some of them as friends, and so that's the awkward thing. Because when I'm talking to them as a friend, I have to listen, yeah, oh, I see, it's really hard, yeah. But then they'll be telling me stuff. I've heard this straight up. Like, some of the greatest players ever in Counter-Strike told me stupid stuff, mate. Like, they should get twice as much salary. And I actually had to tell some of them that were friends, like, look, if we're just having a drink, I'll listen to that. But if you want to, like, actually hear my opinion, you're already getting paid twice as much as you generate for the org. It doesn't make sense what you're saying. Like, the owner isn't making $10 million off you. You know what you're talking about. So along those lines, I definitely agree. Yeah.
You want to understand, like, you want to know why this happens? And there's a 0% chance I'm wrong. It's the same reason why if you're a woman and you spend your life looking at Instagram and the ladies on Instagram in yachts and looking great, everything is Photoshop, everything, is fantastic, Prada, blah, all the greatest things money can buy, then you automatically grow up with the perception that that's how their day-to-day looks like, or that's exactly how they look like, as opposed to is a Photoshop image. It was a special day, one in a year maybe, that she got invited to a yacht party or something, right? And you're comparing your normal version of yourself with the best version of somebody else you don't even know.
Yes.
Right? And so the same thing happens with player contracts. This is a very good analogy, because the same thing happens with players' perceptions. They hear somewhere that this player is getting paid $25K a month and blah, but you're like, that's the only thing they hear. You don't know whether that money requires a 4-year exclusivity, a 4-year renewal. You don't know if that agreement contains 40
bonuses
hours
is a classic one. Yeah, exactly. It's requirements.
40 hours of month of streaming, or whether that money includes that the prize money you earn happens to be only 50%.
Yes.
You know, like people just say, oh, this guy's getting paid 25. And what happens then is that the idiots, there's a lot of idiots, right? You know, running these teams. And thankfully, I don't work in this industry anymore. So I can just tell you 99% of the people you deal with are all fucking idiots. You know, Vitality, like Mad Lions, all these people are just straight up not good at their jobs, especially because they don't own their companies anymore. Somebody else owns their companies.
Yep.
They own 1% or something like this.
Yep.
Then the Indian guy puts the money in when it's required. What is someone that owns 1% of their company having as incentive?
Basically, they waste other people's money is the premise, right?
Yeah, but you know why they do it? Because the only incentive they have within the context of that role of CEO, even if they own 1% of the company, is to look good themselves.
Right.
And this happens still in a lot of American organizations as well, if not all of them except one. Which is that they want to look good. That's why they sign names and they do things that do splash, because they use somebody else's money and they get the recognition, right? So what happens is that one player says, oh, this player is getting paid 25K, whatever. And then like an idiot, like whoever runs Vitality right now says, okay, I'll give you that. Not only that, I give you 32K, you know? And then the problem multiplies, because if there is one player demanding or saying they heard this, you know, and there's an idiot that matches that stupid expectation, then by nature the bubble occurs.
Yes,
right? Just by nature.
Yes, basically people don't know the price in a market is set by the highest bidder. That's just how it works.
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's again, it comes with the territory.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
The same applies to sponsors, but to less degree, because sponsorships are run by diligent people that are knowledgeable and know exactly how many dollars of value they want per dollar of investment in marketing. So very rarely you see an idiot deal, you know?
Yeah.
Or well, you see them, but it's not as common as idiot player deals.
Yes. I'll just say, by the way, for people who don't know, I'm not even just as a journalist saying that. When I did that whole Flashpoint project, I spent 1 year banging my head against the wall, going and getting all of these owners. I basically was their GM. I went and got them lists of all the salaries of the top 50 players. I went and made them lists of like, these are the players that could join your team. They're all ready to join now. They've got this year long contract. This is the buyout. And what they all did for real is they just ignored all that. They overpaid for like the 18th player on my list. Then they had like teams that didn't make any sense. Oh, it was so stupid, mate. Like once I realized that's the whole reason I quit that project, because I realized if I can't help these guys, like they're actually beyond help. They're just going to do their own shit. And as you say, they've got their own motivations because it's not their money. So let's tie this into G2 then. I want to ask about some specific figures.
Americans are the perfect representation. Americans are the perfect representation of bread for today, hunger for tomorrow. Right. Right. Like they just want the bling bling now, majorly because they own 1% of the companies only. But they want the bling bling now. And not the sustainable, strong business or good decision, you know. This is how it is, you know. It's you know how America works. It's a fucking mess.
Yeah. No, it's all about if you're not the biggest, who gives a shit? Exactly. Right, let's talk about, in G2, what I want to do is ask about some specific figures, because one that I always thought was a very curious one is, a big part of the first G2 dynasty was Mithy. If people don't know, not only was Mithy like a really brilliant mind for the game, like he was the guy who like figured out the shit the Koreans were doing, and if you notice, every ADC he plays with became like a legendary ADC. Like he did have a brilliant mind, and he was really good in the game originally mechanically and stuff. The weird thing I always thought is, you two were both Spanish. He obviously vibed with you. He came and won 3 championships with you. You were in the MSI final, but then he left. He fucked off to TSM. Like, was there ever a way you could have just? I felt like you two should have been together forever. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I love Mithy, and I think I remember I very clearly spoke to Mithy many times, but at the very beginning spoke to Mithy and said, bro, like you're the kind of person that can teach someone like Luca so much, Perkz. And you are the kind of person that Perkz can extract a lot of information from, because Perkz is very ambitious, and an ambitious person is always humble because he knows that he can learn from people that know better than him. And Mithy is such a special character. He's very analytical, very methodical, very patient, a very good mentor, very good leader because of his ability to teach, And he does that. He did that from the position of being the support player. would watch replays, he would tell people what they would do wrong, and he would do it in a way where he focuses on the body of work, just like I did in G2 and like I do in every single company I build. I focus on the body of work and say, hey, look, this is absolute garbage. And then it's a good filter, basically, because if you have a communist, socialist, entitled, it will be like, they will be all over it. Oh, what are you saying? This garbage might do it. And then they will just quit or eventually get fired. But if they are actually strong people, strong-minded people, they will stay, understand your feedback, and deploy it to be better, right? So Mithy created that very good filter of shit, of entitled shit in between. The fact that Mithy is in a team will automatically disallow the existence of socialists in the group, okay? Because he will tell you things like they are. This is shit. This tower dive was stupid, okay? I'm not calling you stupid. I'm saying your tower dive was stupid. And he deployed that teaching mechanism into the team, and the team became incredibly good as a result. And Perkz extracted a lot of that as a result,
Yes.
you know?
I mean, he admits it himself. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, he has to, because really Mithy was a fantastic mentor for the team. But yeah, he left with Zven,
Yeah.
Neil, whatever the names are now, and to TSM. And to be honest with you, I wasn't angry at them. I committed a mistake as an owner, which is I will not tell you. Actually, yeah, I don't work in this industry anymore. So
I mean, you should have had him under contract, basically, right?
Yeah. But there's a lot of things I have done to player contracts that are genius, that are now being deployed by other people.
Okay.
But I was doing by myself.
Come on, give me the secret sauce then. What were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I was, bro, fucking genius stuff, okay? Genius stuff. I will not get into it because I know most of G2 contracts existing right now, I've done myself.
Okay.
And I still own an incredibly large portion of that organization. So why would I shoot myself in the balls? But basically, I'm a genius when it comes down to contracts and keeping players under contract and doing so while they're happy, okay? So it's a win-win. I am a genius at extracting win-win situations out of player contracts.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I committed a mistake and I paid the mistake in losing them. I was okay with it because it was my mistake. And yeah, at the same time, when a player has something in his head, is a problem you cannot go back from.
Yes. I mean, put it this way, I'll give you the analogy. You know, in certain faiths, let's just make it abstract so we don't get in trouble. In certain faiths, they really did, especially in old days, literally say, it's actually in the Bible, like if you even look at a woman and covet her in your mind, you've already basically committed adultery, because their premise was, and it's accurate, that's the process of how eventually you think about, maybe I should go and talk to her, maybe I could, and then what would happen if I did? If you hadn't have let the thought ruminate in your mind, it would have never done that. And so I can tell you what you're saying is totally correct. As soon as a player, it's why the thing, if you're an owner, that's death, is when you think you've got a good relationship with the player, but you don't know he's got some mate that's in the other team that's been talking to him the whole time in his ear. And by the time he comes to you, like, I think I might want to go to that team, he's already there. You know what I mean? He basically just wants permission to put the jersey on at that point. And it's too late then, as you say. Like, once he's already decided and he's thought it through, like, oh, but what would it be like and to be on the team? And it's too late then, isn't it? Like, they're almost gone. Too late. Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into the philosophy of what you just described, because that could get you banned on YouTube for no fucking reason. But yeah, let me just try to simplify my thoughts as family friendly as possible. If there would have been a contract, the thought does not come. You know, it's just really that simple. So it's my responsibility, it's my fault, and I paid the price. But I never held a grudge against them.
Okay.
The same way I did hold a grudge against others that tried to fuck me over.
Sure.
Like Reckless, for example. He's a cunt, you know. But it's okay. He's a successful cunt.
We'll come to that later. It's all good. We'll come to that later. Here's the thing. I have one last question on the Zven Mithy one, which goes like this. Look, Mithy went there, and I have heard, I sort of get it. Zven himself says he didn't really want to go to TSM, but Mithy just told him like it was his dream to play for TSM. Like, look, I guess everyone has like a guilty pleasure. I didn't know fucking Mithy was a TSM player. I'm like, TSM, come on, bro, you're like a genius. But everyone has a weird angle. Someone likes Limp Bizkit or whatever, you know, or fucking cartoons or whatever, anime. Everyone has something they're weird about. So he went there, but you notice even Mithy left after 1 year. He was like, actually, this isn't what I thought it was, right? And Zven, because he never wanted to go anywhere. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Exactly. He had to try it to know that it wasn't what he wanted, basically. When he went for 1 year, though, and he left, Zven obviously got trapped there. And Zven even said in this interview recently with me that when he thinks back, if you think of the team you made in Season 8, before the Season 9 one, was when the top side is the same as the super team. And he even thinks back like, wait a minute. So we would have been the bot lane. We're basically just Perkz and Mickey X. What? Like, that could have put with Perkz a middle at the time, like, instead of Caps. He said he even does think back now, like, that's a regret. Like, you basically could have had the super team in Season 8, sort of.
Yeah. I know they think this way. But there's something in my life, there's a common denominator, has always been and will likely always be, which is those that leave my side are always worse off than when they're with me. I make everybody around me better. And you know, whether it is the financial success they're looking for, whether it is career success they're looking for, whether it's straight happiness they're looking for, I make everybody around me that I choose to keep around me better. And everybody that leaves ends up worse off. Has been the case for pretty much every single person that left. And you know, it has always been the case. Every player you look at, there's not one player you will look at in the history of esports that is better off after leaving my organization. Same goes for staff members. Same goes for people that think they can do it by themselves. No, they can't.
As Mary J. Blige said in her track, All I Need, you're all I need to get by, which is the case for me and my Patreon community who support this channel and these videos. Some of them include Theogony, Matt Pugnaccio Racula, Ahmed Haju, Joseph Adcock, Tosh, Bot Pounder 420, Toucan, Animosity, Tobias Bernasconi, Jensen Gore, Yerka, and a special thanks always to the main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to ask a question in my regular video AMA? Do you want teasers? Find out who upcoming guests are. Maybe you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content, or you want to take part in one of those longer esports discussions with me where we go all over the place. Well, if any of those grab your fancy, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Risk Illuminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.